Halo Combat Evolved was, for many, the start of a game series that defined childhoods. It gave us our first glance at Halo Ring, the Covenant, and most importantly, Master Chief. However, the question still remains, would Halo be what it is today if not for this game? And would Halo have failed if Combat Evolved did? Luckily for us, Bungie created masterpiece after masterpiece, which all started with the first mission, Pillar of Autumn. Today I'll explain everything that made this first mission perfect, and why it launched Halo into the world of gaming at light speed. Starting with the opening cutscene, it wastes no time showing us the setting of the game and why it's called Halo, by presenting us with an epic long shot of the Halo ring. Following this is our first set of dialogue where Captain Keyes asks Cortana if they lost them. Now we have an ominous setting where we know they are running from something and we don't know if they got away, or even what they were running from. Shown by the captain's confusion, we learn that this unnamed foe has better technology and is just stronger than us. Immediately following this confusion, Cortana gives us a name, the Covenant. Now we have our enemy, setting, and a few characters and only a couple minutes into the game. Cortana goes on to give a bit of backstory, such as mentioning Reach, and then we're told about the danger we're in, as she says in about 90 seconds they'll be all over us. At this news, the ship goes into combat alert and the captain sends everyone to their stations. We get a tease of Master Chief and the screen fades to white. The next scene sets up action and introduces us to Sergeant Johnson, who immediately became a fan favorite in the game. The game is quickly building up to the action, while we see everyone on high alert. Johnson gives an inspirational speech to the Marines and it cuts to the Master Chief. Not even 5 minutes into the game, and everything that needs to be set up in the beginning of a story is explained and we've reached gameplay. The first bit of gameplay we get is the tutorial, which I must admit is very boring, long, and tedious. However, Combat Evolved did something I've never seen before in other games, and I think that Halo was the only game at the time to allow you to skip the tutorial. Please correct me in the comments section if I am wrong though. The idea is that new players who don't know the controls would play on easy or normal, and the experienced players would play on heroic or legendary. The game automatically skips the tutorial if you are playing on the two harder difficulties. I personally think this was a great idea, but could have been better if they just added a skip tutorial option to all difficulties. If you do play the tutorial, Cortana will mention Covenant boarding parties. This line briefly foreshadows the ending of the tutorial where the Covenant burst into the room above and kill the scientist running your diagnostic. If you skip the tutorial, you'll only see the Covenant in the room as you escape, so it doesn't give as much of an explanation, but there's something. Because if you didn't hear Cortana, this would come as a surprise that the Covenant are already aboard the ship, which adds to the suspense really, but following your escape, corridors begin to explode, killing the other scientists and showing us just how much danger we're all in. As you stumble through the corridors, the action builds as you come across jump scares, close encounters, and soldiers and scientists fighting for their lives. Upon arriving at the bridge and speaking with the captain, we learn that there is really no hope to win, and the only option now is to abandon the Autumn. This makes our situation seem helpless, which is a commonly used plot development tool in stories, and Halo nails it. In this scene we learn we're going onto the Halo, which develops the setting even more. Keyes also gives us the mission of protecting Cortana and explains the importance of protecting her, giving us a responsibility in the game. After the cutscene we receive our first weapon, the Magnum, and immediately get to use it in our first combat scenario where we fight a few grunts. The Magnum is easily one of the most powerful weapons in the first Halo game, and it's fitting that we should get the Magnum first to show us some of the potential weapons that we can have in the future, such as snipers, rocket launchers, and then the next weapon's an AR, which is a bit of a downgrade but also shows the differences in weapons and their benefits and non-benefits. We then reach an open gunfight room, which is common in Halo, and we then come across many different scenarios to familiarize ourselves with tactics in Halo, such as meleeing the back of an enemy, crouching behind cover, or switching weapons in a gunfight, which is always faster than reloading. If you decide to go into the Covenant boarding craft, you'll find a couple of overshield upgrades, this is the perfect way to introduce the overshield in my opinion, because it makes you go out of your way and explore to find things that are better than what you have. It doesn't simply give you it and make you expect to find them just lying around in the open. It incites the need to explore. You then proceed to make your way through the ship in a straightforward manner, making it harder to get lost due to all paths converging at your destination. You find multiple different areas where you have 2 different paths to advance on. No matter which path you take, they'll both lead to the same destination, and how many enemies you fight and which enemies, and it is all decided based on your path you choose. It can be fun to replay the game and just to explore these other smaller paths, and it makes the level different each time you play it. You move through the tight corridors and open areas full of enemy gunfights, and this is a prime example of what the game will be, and it gives us practice with fighting enemies in both small and big areas. It is necessary for the first mission of the game to lay the groundwork and precedent for the mechanics, gameplay, and plot going forward, thus giving us plenty of scenarios and gunfights that could happen later in the game, so it's the precedent for future gunfights in the game. While making your way through the corridors, Cortana will consistently make note of things such as Covenant boarding parties, escape pods leaving, along with telling us to hurry. Eventually more mechanics are introduced throughout this mission, making it more enjoyable as you learn different mechanics and the mission is ever evolving due to it. The first of these newer mechanics is the nav point. It sets a marker where you must head to, and it is used when the game isn't clear on where you're supposed to go. Next is the flashlight, which we get almost moments after the nav point. This is way more optional than any other mechanic, but still helpful in dark rooms, which seem to be common for some reason in Halo. After the flashlight, you'll receive the motion tracker, which is probably the most useful mechanic in the game aside from shooting. The motion tracker will detect on the radar where enemies are in relation to you if they are moving, and let's be real, the Covenant are always fidgety. So. You eventually make it through more explosions and meet up with some more Marines, who you'll eventually escape with, and fight a few more groups of enemies for the ending. Now the ending is just as climatic as the whole mission. Cortana says there is only one more lifeboat and continues to urge you to hurry. The ship is still exploding and there is no guarantee anyone will make it. In this cutscene, Chief saves a Marine and they eject from the ship, heading towards the Halo. There is a Marine who has a subtle, meaningful line that humanizes the characters, which he says he doesn't want to die out here, and Captain Keyes decides to go in manually, despite what Cortana suggests. And we have a climatic-filled landing on the Halo before it cuts to white, not revealing if anyone made it. This ending ends the same as the whole mission, action-packed and thrilling. On top of the action, the soundtrack fits perfectly and is a blast to listen to. Overall, Pillar of Autumn is action-packed and exciting to play through, whether it's your first time or 100th. The mission nails the beginning of a story that would span many games. It wastes no time in establishing a plot, characters, setting, and mechanics. You get to play the game within minutes of starting it due to its incredible opening cutscene that gives straight to the point. The gameplay is ahead of its time given the name Combat Evolved, and is still a joy to play even to this day. As I mentioned before, the soundtrack for the whole game is first heard in this mission, and it is incredible. The music is perfect and it is great to just listen to in your free time. The ending is full of action and it ends on a high note where we're crashing into the Halo, and it just cuts to white before revealing what happens. This cliffhanger makes players immediately want to go to the next mission and continue the story, which is exactly the purpose of a beginning. Hook the player, get them to continue playing, and Pillar of Autumn does that perfectly. Pillar of Autumn blends the story with the action together, making it fun for those who want story and those who want action. In the next episode, I'll go over why the next mission, Halo, is my favorite mission in all of Combat Evolved. Until then, thank you all for watching and have a blessed day.